Hi, I'm Rick, and I had a big revelation today. I somehow managed to actually make it to 62 years of age. I know. Hallelujah. Amen, Lordy. It's a miracle. Jesus passed the pancakes. Wow. Who knew? I mean, certainly not 20-year-old or even 40-year-old me. And so today I want to speak to those past me's, and also any of you who, there's a big dangly thing here, and also to any of you who haven't made it to your 6th decade of life, because I want to share some hard-won knowledge with you, some ideas, so maybe you can make your own mistakes and not make all the crappy ones that I did. And so today, 7 deadly mistakes, not the least of which is don't ever live in an unair-conditioned bus in 101-degree temperatures in Northern California, but all right, maybe we have 8. The real number 1. Okay, Mr. Rick of way back when, you're going to make a whole lot of really bad decisions. Here are a few of them. Number 1 is disco. Yes, I embrace disco fully. I had the platform shoes, the silk shirts, and why did I do it? Well, it wasn't for the music, because the music was frankly kind of but the girls, when you're 18, 19, this is what you do. I'm embarrassed, but yeah, I was a disco guy. Number 1.2, leisure suits. Now, if you happen to have been around in the 70s, you understood what these things were. Fortunately, I burned every single photo of me wearing them. However, I kind of like the corduroy tan one. It seemed to suit me. Hey, young and stupid 20-year-old Rick, credit cards, you know how they're so easy to sign up for? Well, guess what? You gotta pay them back. You know how many years you're gonna spend paying back bar bills? Don't do it. Okay, here's the bottom line on those 7 little mistakes of mine. Okay, there weren't 7. I got a little happy when it came for the edit. But the bottom line is, I don't actually consider them to be complete mistakes. They were learning opportunities. But for those of you who are in the now, just remember that everything you did in the then is going to be pretty damn cringeworthy. Embrace it. Own it. Just don't do them again. Try to do even better, stupider mistakes. Like the next 6. All right, number 2, and this one's getting kind of serious, and it's also very scary and personal. Hey, former Rick, stop living in fear. Guess what? You're going to be paralyzed, full body from the neck down. You're going to be laying in a hospital bed like a piece of meat, being able to do absolutely nothing for yourself, completely reliant on others. And here's the really fun part. This is going to happen to you twice. You are going to have such an absolute loss of control because you're not going to be able to do anything. You're not going to be able to feed yourself, not going to be able to pee, poop, wipe your own butt. You're not even going to be able to pull the sheets up over you when you get a little chilly at night. Everything, and I mean absolutely everything, is going to be at the mercy of strangers. It's going to be something that you're going to find very hard to accept. Now, there is good news and there's, well, not so good news. The good news is you are going to recover from each of these particular bouts of, it's called Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS. Just go look it up on Google. I'm not going to, oh, that's right, you don't have Google quite yet. You know, go look it up in a library. You're not going to like what you find. Nope, like I say, you are going to recover, mostly. You're probably going to get about 90-95% of your mobility back. The bad news is, at least on the second time, it's going to take you almost a year to fully recover. A year of therapy, of not being able to walk, not being able to do much for yourself, and well, having a lot of people point and laugh and make fun of you. But there actually is some really, really good news that's going to come out of this. You're going to learn who you really are and what you have inside. Now, the entire time that you're in the hospital, you're going to be nice for all the nurses and the people around you because you don't want to be, Debbie Downer. So everyone's going to think that you're strong, you're tough, and you are. You can do pretty much anything. But then you're going to have those times at night at 4:30 in the morning where, well, it's quiet and there's no sounds in the hospital and you can't do anything for yourself, and you're going to sit there and you're going to cry. And it's going to be one of the most horrible feelings you've ever had because you can't lift your hands to wipe your tears. But then the hospital is going to start coming back to life and you're going to remember who you are. As you face other problems throughout your life into the future, you're going to have an inner strength. You have been tested, and you can do pretty much anything. Now, having said all of that, a lot of this is going to sort of trigger some PTSD anxiety later on in life, but don't worry, you got that one too. Number 3, tales of our father. So you know how Dad is. That stubborn, old-fashioned, everything in his head is gospel in the way that everybody should live their lives kind of, you know how he is. Well, it turns out that he actually had a different side to him. He actually had questions, like religious questions. Now, even though he didn't go to church much, he did consider himself a Christian. He believed in God. He believed that the entire world was preordained. But in one rare moment of weakness, he actually confessed to me that he had questions. He had a lot of questions, and he seemed so hesitant to tell me about them, and then he finally let loose. Now, I didn't know if he was asking my opinion or not. He knows that we're an atheist, not that he understands exactly what that means, but he was questioning the Bible, the miracles, the contradicting stories. I know, who knew? People would actually have questions about that. He started wondering, how can this be true? How can that be true? And if all of that is not, then how can any of it be true? But that's when he had his biggest failure. And believe it or not, it's going to be yours too. His biggest failure was stopping at the questions and never actually considering that he could pursue the answers. Because all that he had been taught that one must believe, one must follow the rules, he couldn't take the jump from I wonder if to maybe there's something that could answer my questions. He wouldn't do it, absolutely refused. And when I tried to get him into a conversation about that, he absolutely shut down. So, Mr. Young Rick, you are pretty brave. What were we, 9 or 10 years old when we started telling people that we were an atheist? And nobody believed us, of course, because we were 9 or 10 years old. But we knew, and we still do. But your problem is you actually really care about what other people think, even though you say you don't. Well, if somebody wants to engage you in conversation or ask you questions, don't be afraid to tell people what you stand for. That's the long and short of it. Speaking of other people don't matter unless they do, here's number 4. So, Mr. 20-year-old Rick, you can't please everybody, so stop trying. You can't make everybody love you. Everybody's not going to love you. You, my friend, are going to be married twice. You, my friend, are going to be divorced twice. You are going to have several relationships in between, and every single one of them, you're going to be a hand puppet. You're going to just go along to get along, avoid all of the conflicts because, well, you don't want somebody to leave you, you want everyone to love you, and you kind of enjoy being a doormat. That's not leading you anywhere near a happy life. So, you want to know a secret? One in which I'm trying to learn desperately right now? People will respect you more if you stand up for yourself and stop just trying to be who they want you to be, or at least who you think they want you to be. Number 5, money doesn't matter either. Yeah, you think it does. You think that's the end-all, be-all, that if you could just become a millionaire, rub elbows with the rich and the powerful, that, well, your life will be complete. Well, guess what? You're going to make it. Guess what else? You're going to hate it. You're going to be miserable. And so, 40-year-old Rick, take care of your knees, by the way, because when you get to be 60-year-old Rick, you're not going to like these. So it's no big surprise that all throughout my 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, you know who you are. The only thing you seem to care about was if I could just make it, then everybody will love me, I will have everything I want, and you actually do. You do become a multi-millionaire. You are rubbing elbows with senators and governors and the power people who put them in place. And while they're not bad people, they're not your people. So, Mr. Younger Rick, the answer here is stop chasing money, stop chasing power, stop chasing somebody else's lifestyle. Find out what makes you happy and chase that instead. Well, here's an idea. Why don't you start making one of these channels when YouTube first comes out? Then you won't have to work at that boring job that was just trying to make you money. Here's a fun one. Dotted lines are holding you back. And yes, this is where I extol the virtues of travel. Now, you actually haven't done much, unless you're a 55-year-old Rick. You will meet someone, you will travel the world, you will have grand experiences. You will move into that school bus right over there, and you will have even more experiences. But there's some underlying part of it that you are just starting to figure out now. Okay, let's get you all set up so you can understand this. I'm going to start with a story. You are going to have a massive burnout. 2 years ago for me, a few years into the future for you. And one of the very first countries you go to is going to be Costa Rica. Now, your mind is not going to be in a very good place. You're going to get there and you're going to hate it. For some reason, you're just going to despise being in this little podunk Caribbean town sitting on the shores of Costa Rica. But you know, you're going to look back on that and it's going to be one of your best memories. It's going to be one of the places that you want to go back to so much, because you're up till now thinking that travel is about places, experiences, Instagram photos. It's not. It's about feeling. So the big piece of advice that I have to offer you is stop looking at things superficially. Stop looking at travel and this and that and all of your other hobbies as the hobby, the thing. Look underneath of it, because there's a whole nother world that is just absolutely fascinating. Number 7. Be different. And by that I mean, be truly different. You, my friend, are indeed going to embrace your differences, but you're also going to label yourself. You're going to say, I have ADHD, I'm a procrastinator, I'm this, I'm that. Well, yeah, you are. But you're going to use those labels to limit yourself, to say that, well, I can't change, I can't do much about this, I might as well live in a certain way because I have a label. So just stop it. Yeah, I know labels are nice. They can be used as an excuse or an explanation. Explanation. But in the end, all that means is you're going to use your labels to explain why you're doing what you're doing, but you can't change what you're doing because you have a label. Instead, use your labels to understand your basic self, to find out who you are and not to just encapsulate them in concrete. So enough chatting with previous me. Let's actually talk to the people who are actually watching this video. Have you noticed the theme throughout this? The word change, perhaps, or fear, or limits. The single biggest thing I would change if I could go back in time, aside from one relationship that I completely should have done differently. No, the biggest thing I would change is to explore myself instead of trying to be who other people wanted me to be, who I expected to be because that was the way I was taught. I know, we all say, I don't care what other people think, all the while acting like some 7th grade middle schooler who just wants to hang out with the cool kids in the cafeteria. We do care what other people think. It's in our nature. Okay, look, the whole bottom line to this video is I know our culture has kind of devolved into nobody can be different because otherwise someone's going to make fun of you, point it out, and, well, we're going to divide ourselves into little camps based on, well, how we're not different. If everybody is unique and everybody is doing their own thing and everybody thinks that that's cool, then, well, there are no little camps, there are no little tribes, there is no more of this BS that's going on where we have to hate and suffer and be apart from each other. So be yourself, learn who you are. And that's the biggest advice I can give to anybody. Thanks for watching.